Okay, so what we did was take the nozzle from the spray foam and go in a hole that I already had in the tire to let the water out and just sprayed it in. The foam says it expands about double, so we tried to fill it to about half and then see if it would fill the rest. It didn't seem like that worked. This tire works about the best out of all of them, and you can see now this is maybe 3 or 4 hours later. It still has some give in it. It seems fairly uniform all around the tire. I mean, this thing is going to be pretty solid. It's going to be awesome. Now you can see anywhere there was an air gap, such as wherever I had holes for wherever to let the water out, some of it squished out. Obviously, there was a little bit of gaps along the bead because those came out. But really, I think I'm going to be able to just tear all this off. You know, the X-Maxx wheels from the factory have 2 holes in them, so it obviously came out of those. I left the tires on their side, both this way and this way during the cure, to make sure that it was uniform around the tire. I figured if I let it cure this way, it would be uneven and would probably have a really bad balance problem. So there's that. Here's a tire where I've started to take the foam off, but here's also an issue. So I did all 4 of these tires exactly the same. As you can see, it made a ginormous mess. But here's a tire that I did exactly the same as this one, where it's completely hard. It feels perfect. This is exactly how I want these to feel. This one, for some reason, feels like nothing in it. Even though I sprayed a whole bunch of this stuff inside of it, for whatever reason, it's still completely flat. It's like it's empty. So I'm going to have to get more and try this more. This was basically the equivalent of 1 can. So obviously that made a big mess. And I figure if I do it again, I'll have to try it a little bit differently. So this is about 1 week later. I hadn't had a chance over the week with work to play with it much. So I've bolted these on. Basically got 3 of the 4 tires came out pretty well. You can see they're still pretty ugly. I was able to scrape a lot of or just cut with a knife, a lot of the excess foam off. So that was pretty good. I figure maybe a few runs and this foam will fall off. I don't know, we'll see. Kind of ugly, but for running around in my front yard, I don't know if I really care or not. But the truth is, they feel pretty awesome. When I try to squeeze them, they're nice and they're stiff. A lot stiffer than they were stock, no question. Probably just a little bit stiffer than the Prolines are, the Proline Badland MX43s. So I have it on 3 wheel positions. You can see this one is completely full. This one still has a little bit more give in it, like there's maybe quite not as much foam in there as there is in the front one. Honestly, that was kind of one of the challenges, is to make sure you're getting the same amount. Here's the other. I got the right rear. Again, it's feeling just a little bit soft, but honestly, that's pretty awesome. It's probably about where I want it. See, right front is a Proline because one of them never really filled up right. I ended up actually going and getting a spare can of spray foam just to see if I could get this one to work right. And there's something about trying to get all the air out of the tire as you put foam in. You can see this thing is ugly. I have tried basically 2 or 3 different, I think 3 times now, to put foam in it. And what happens is I squish the foam in with the can, and it ends up basically almost like siphoning out some other piece of the tire, and then the tire still feels empty. I've done it again with the last remnants of a can, and what I noticed was, and you can see it through this side puncture here, it's like the liquid is in there, the foam is in there, it just refuses to actually harden. It's like it doesn't have enough airflow to actually get it to expand and harden, so instead it just sits there until you push enough foam in it for it to start the siphoning effect and to completely empty it. So this one, I just sprayed the last of the can in, so we will see. Maybe it'll harden, maybe it won't. But in general, it's interesting. The other 3 feel pretty good. Only thing I can figure is, as you saw in the first video, there's a lot of this on these other tires where whatever was sitting up, right? Because I keep letting them cure on the side so that they're somewhat uniform when it cures. All 3 of these had some pretty good leakage around the bead. And my guess is this one is one that I was actually attempting to repair. I don't remember if you can see it or not. Yes, it had been completely sliced across. Normal X-Maxx tire ripping apart kind of phenomenon. So I had actually resealed the beads on both sides, and so it was getting very little air leakage. So I'm wondering if that's why it's not curing. Anyway, so here we are. Body's a mess. About time for a new body, that kind of thing. So excuse it for that. But I'm going to try a ballooning test. We know that the Pro lines are good, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm currently running 6S with a 1854 gearing. So normally something on this workbench, it would balloon like crazy. So let's see how it does now that they're foam filled. You can see there's obviously just a slight vibration. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I was really worried that that balance would be a huge issue, but it doesn't appear that it's very bad. And ballooning is actually pretty good. And considering that a couple of these tires were also ripped across the tread pattern, they didn't shred apart, you know, for running around in the front yard, it might not be that big a deal. So let's give it a test run out in the front yard and see what happens. Okay, front yard. I'm going to be driving one-handed, videoing with the cell phone in the other, so you have to go ahead and excuse that. A couple speed runs. Not quite full speed, sorry, I'll try to keep up with the camera. Man, seems pretty good so far. I don't see any obvious wobbling. Traction seems decent. One of the things I was concerned about was with them so much harder, would traction be an issue or not? Doesn't. Maybe a little bit. Before with these Traxxas tires, it would wheelie a lot harder than that. Which makes sense though. If I've really stiffened up those tires, they're probably going to have lost a little bit of traction. Okay, so far that's pretty good actually. Pretty happy with that. So now here we are. I've run 2 packs through it. 2 sets of packs through the truck, running around in my front yard. A lot of what you saw, running around. I kind of take a path through my front yard, usually like a track, doing that a lot. Got my neighbor to get that one video of the truck jumping, so hit that ramp, you know, I don't even know how many times, that type of thing. So what is the thoughts? You know, the truth is they've held up. This front tire especially, where it was the more solid of all of them, I can't tell any difference. I mean, it seems exactly where it is. What I have noticed is this rear tire, this left rear only, where it didn't have as much in it to start with, it has a soft spot. So since it wasn't full, it seems like now I've actually knocked a soft spot in it. So, end verdict, is this something I'm going to do to my tires that I use every day? Heck no. You know, these were 4 scrap tires that were literally getting thrown away because I was putting the Pro lines on. One of them had a huge rip all the way across it. You know, this front tire, well, I'm probably going to keep this one as a backup. If anything ever happens to one of those Pro lines, I at least have something that I can run. But this certainly is not going to be something that I'm going to recommend that everybody run out and replace their factory foams with this immediately because it's so much better. It's just it's kind of a gets you through a tight spot until you can get more tires kind of thing. So anyway, that's it. That's all I've got.